going on, everyone? Welcome back to Two Guys Watching Football. My name is Cole Jackson. I am joined by a very special guest, changing the G in the TGWF. I am joined by the lovely Sarah Ellison. Sarah, how's it going?
Good. It's one guy and one gal watching football right now, right?
That's the beauty of the G. I just have to invert it. Hell, it can even be
Yeah.
two gals watching football for us. So I love it. I love it. But how are you doing? How are things going?
Cole, I'm just so happy that we're meeting for the first time. How great is this? I feel like we both followed each other for a couple years now, and I'm just happy to be here talking football with you. So it's a good day. And hey, Ravens OTAs, it feels like football's getting back, so that's in the air. Life is good right now, man.
Oh, that's good. And yeah, it's funny. We were just joking before we started, but I feel like I've known Sarah for so long, and I was like, "Have we ever done a show together?" And when I was getting ready, I was like, "I don't think I have," but and that's the beauty of this community, and I'm so thankful for all of you tuning in out there. It's been so fun for me being in a different country, even just to get to know all of you, get to know Sarah. And so what we're going to be doing today, I did a little solicit for questions. It's just another Ask Me Anything AMA. So we're going to go through your questions. Obviously, I know some of you are joining here live. If you guys have additional questions, throw them down in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can, and we're just going to kind of wrap up everything to get ready for OTAs this week. And so, let's start with the big ticket item, we'll call it. I know there's going to be some questions out there. So obviously, Lamar Jackson did not report at the start of OTAs. So let's just start there. Kind of, what are your thoughts on that whole situation?
Yeah, well, I kind of look at it through three different lenses, Cole. So, for the most part, talking big picture before I give you the three lenses, I think there's a lot of overreaction out there for sure. Okay, and so the way I break that down is I break it down into three lenses. So I've got, okay, does Lamar missing OTAs, and right now we don't know how much he's going to miss because Mark Andrews said today he's going to be back soon. He's tweeted, can't wait to get back. So I don't know. There's 3 weeks of OTAs, and then there's mandatory camp, and then you have a month off, and then there's training camp. So there's still a long ways to go. So how much, number one, will this affect the season, right? To me, it's little to none. Lamar, even if he misses just the first week of OTAs or the whole thing, it's little to none. Now, I won't say none, though, in this case, because he does have a new center. It'd be nice if you were getting snaps there. You've got a lot of new offensive linemen. He's got new tight ends. Wide receivers are fighting for position. So, it wouldn't hurt if he were there. It'd be nice. But do I think that what happens in OTAs is going to make or break the Ravens in the season? I do not. It does not worry me. This is not the first time. When Joe Flacco missed, people would freak out, all that kind of stuff. I'm not that concerned about affecting the 2022 season. So the second lens. Now, this is what people would criticize Joe Flacco for. It would feel like he doesn't have enough passion, right? Where's his passion? We don't see him yelling at people on the sideline.
Where's the urgency? Remember
where's
the urgency?
Where's the urgency?
Yeah,
where's the urgency? How come he doesn't get his wide receivers together in the offseason away from the Ravens? Lamar, there's no questioning his passion, his commitment to football. He gets his receivers together in the offseason. I don't know why he's missing this week. If it was something little, like maybe something with family or whatever, you'd think that John Harbaugh would say that. Who knows? I don't know. But when it comes to passion for football, Lamar's got it. Okay. Now, the third lens, and this is the only one I can't as easily push aside because I feel like it's fair to wonder, is I think there's some fear out there of Lamar's commitment to being a Raven, right? And that's not to say he's going to leave. Listen, we've done this with all Ravens greats. I remember when Ray Lewis went through his contract situations. I remember when Terrell Suggs went through his contract situations. Like, there's always fear that these greats can leave. And then somebody like Ed Reed does leave. So it's not without, it's fair to ask that. And so when you've got this coming on the heels of Lamar just not engaging, according to the Ravens, in contract talks, this on top of that makes people nervous, right? So that one I can't as easily brush aside because we know this business and all that. Now, I don't think he's holding out. He wouldn't be holding out because the Ravens are trying to engage in talks and not the reverse. So I don't think it's that he's holding out. It's just more this backdrop of like, okay, he's not engaging in contract talks and now he's not here when in the past he's always been here. So I think that's a fair question, but it doesn't sound the alarms for me. It doesn't sound the alarms because there's so much time to get all that done. So that's kind of how so to me, I'm not concerned, but I at least acknowledge people's questions and maybe fear long-term of like, whoa, we want him to stay. I want him to stay. Is it going to happen? And we're in this murkiness. And so it's not fun to be in murkiness. And I understand that.
That makes sense. And I mean, anytime you have an open market and a player that could hit said open market, there's going to happen. There's going to be some anxiousness, and nobody wants to lose Lamar for obvious reason. It's Lamar Jackson.
Right.
He's on my wall. You know, I tend to look at these things, and I've stayed quiet on it because I understand my bias. I coach, and when kids don't show up to my practices, it annoys me. This is not the same situation. I coach little kids. I get it. But I just always look at things through that lens. And John Harbaugh is a very old school coach. So his comments today, like John Harbaugh strikes me as the type of coach that would want everybody at practice every day of the week. You know, that kind of guy. That's just his personality. I think people kind of ran with his I think when I initially read his comment, I actually thought it was him being respectful. He's just saying, I'm not going to speak for him. He can speak for himself. Somehow people saw it as a slight. Is that kind of people just getting all scuttlebutt about, something like this because of the anxiety of the contract situation? I'm not sure. It would strike me as very odd for Lamar to say, can't wait to be back out there, and then not show up. It's kind of an odd PR tactic if this was some sort of, like you mentioned, a holdout. It just doesn't make sense in that context. So, Yeah,
I get that. I'll just add in there, like there of so many players that I don't like to try to speak for, it's definitely Lamar. Lamar is so hard for me. Like there's so many players that I can be like, here's what I think is going on. Here's what I think. And Lamar, though, he's just such a guy that you want to respect that like, it is, unless he gives you a straight up answer, because he's so private, right? He's so private. I don't know what he's told the Ravens. I don't know. Here's my guess though, Cole, when he comes back and he does have a presser and the inevitable question from the media is like, how come you weren't here? I could see Lamar being like, I'm just going to keep that private.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas some other guys would want to like explain it away. He's just a hard guy to speak for because he's so private and you want to respect it. So anyway, I think that John, I agree with you. I think John,
that's how I took it.
He prefers everybody here and nobody speaks for Lamar but Lamar. That's how I
took it. I was like, okay, he's just kind of, so it was kind of funny. It's just, you can read it and I guess read it either way. I think it's one of those situations where anxiety, drama, buildup, all of that is surrounding it. So things are going to be taken with a negative connotation. But, that's kind of the Lamar situation. I want to jump into another one. I did a video on it yesterday, so my thoughts are well captured. But what was your initial reaction to the Kyle Fuller signing?
Yeah, my first reaction was, okay, this is the final piece. This is the final piece to a loaded secondary. And at this point, after seeing Marlon Humphrey already back in OTAs, and John Harbaugh has said multiple times he expects Marcus Peters back in training camp. So I'm feeling that's not like a week one prediction for Marcus. That's training camp. Now he could start on PUP, but Harbaugh in the past has said PUP for the running backs. He did not say so for Marcus Peters. So I'm feeling really good about the health back there. And then Kyle Fuller comes in. You have another veteran piece. Again, as insurance, I don't know how much they need it. I think insurance throughout the season they'll need. You got a veteran guy. You got a guy who's mostly durable. He was out 2016 for a major knee, but the other 7 years of his career, he's only missed one game. Yeah, sign me up for that. He's also versatile, which I love. Marlon can go inside. Marlon can go to the boundary. Kyle Fuller can do the same. So I love the versatility there. To me, at worst, Kyle Fuller is a good depth piece, right? Like he showed last year he can be a pro even despite a slump, and then he didn't play well at the beginning of the year with the Broncos, and he came back and played well. I think he's going to have a better time with the secondary surrounding him here. So at worst, he's like this nice depth piece. At best, he returns to form as a Pro Bowler, So that's kind of where we're at. I'm not sure he'll be a Pro Bowler again. In fact, I don't think he will. I don't, because if the other two guys are going to be healthy, I don't know that he'll have a chance to show that. But I think when they've got three corners, I mean, he'll be out there, and if they start with three corners, he'll be a starter. And so this also gives time for the Ravens to develop a little bit more their fourth round rookie cornerbacks. You put it together with these safeties, Cole.
It's getting crazy.
It's getting crazy. Yeah.
And that's like the whole Chuck Clark situation. And I mean, we have a question on it, so let's jump right into it because I think it's relevant. So at Tefro_D how do you see Kyle Hamilton being used? And let's also include Chuck Clark. So, I want to kind of hit on that because with Mike Macdonald at Michigan having a preference of three safety looks, Kyle Hamilton showing an ability to play in the box, an ability to play some slot, an ability to play some single high, kind of all of that. We know what Chuck Clark can do in terms of versatility. And now you're adding a Kyle Fuller who, as you said, can go inside, outside. Marlon Humphrey can go inside, outside. I mean, it just feels like everything becomes kind of a chessboard for Mike Macdonald to move guys into positions to have success. How do you see that playing out?
Well, first of all, can we give a little extra love to Chuck Clark? Because this guy was here today. This guy is here in OTA.
Going about his business.
Amid reports from our guy, Jeff Zrebeck. He said that EDC has shopped him to multiple teams. Okay. And who knows, that might be partly Chuck was unhappy. That's according to Jeff, or partly it's like the Ravens are like, maybe we have so much depth here. Maybe we can use it for somebody else. But like the fact that he showed up shouldn't be surprising because he's a pro, but is still commendable. So I wanted to give him a shout out there. I'm very curious. Here's my thought. If Chuck Clark is here for the season, I still think come week 1, he's going to be starting and wearing the green dot. I think that the Ravens in the past, even with first round picks, they've shown respect to veterans. And so John Harbaugh said today that he was here and he was running the defense. And so I can still see that happening. I just see a question come up. Did Hamilton have the green dot today? I don't know who had the dot, but based off of what Harbaugh said that Chuck was running the defense, it sounded like Clark. Yeah. That's how I took it. So good question though. So I see that still happening. And letting Kyle, just as you said, be this chess piece. Kyle and all three safeties can be on there pretty frequently, Cole. I mean, I don't know if you listened to that session that oh my gosh, Ortiz had with the media, where he just sat for 30 minutes taking questions from draft picks, and he like went through everything that Hamilton can do, from single coverage, the range, the tight ends going against safeties, will linebacker. How many times? I mean, I know we're going to talk about Queen and who's going to be next to him. How about how often whoever's next to him is going to be taken off because Hamilton could be there or another safety? You know what I mean? So I think what the Ravens have is a ridiculous amount of versatility. And I, for one, am excited to see how that unfolds.
So I've never thought about that. And you actually make a really good point. Like, to ease Kyle Hamilton in, does it make sense to just go Marcus Williams, Chuck Clark, and then you're still playing Kyle Hamilton, I don't know, 60, 70% snaps, which is a lot, like you're saying. But you're putting him kind of in a matchup role. How much does that help his transition into the NFL? And you've seen guys like Isaiah Simmons seems to be the go-to as, a versatile chess piece that was like a safety linebacker, slot corner hybrid, drafted very high by the Arizona Cardinals, who quite frankly struggled out the gate. And I mean, you can shrink his role and make it simple for him. And I'm not saying he needs that. I don't think he does, because he's such a high processor. But why not make a guy's job easier? That just seems to make sense in September when it's your first season in the NFL. So I
right.
love
And
that
like I
idea.
said, I was saying that from week 1. And if he
Yeah.
continues, I mean, they're already the report today for Hamilton is like he jumps off, which you expect, right, from a guy who was a consensus top 5 pick. So I don't know. I think that'll evolve as we go, but that's how I could see it week 1, and then just kind of let it evolve from there.
Love it, love it. Yeah, let's stick on defense. So at C Caldwell 45 asked, who will be the starting Mike next to Patrick Queen? Is Harrison still a Mike? Do you see him as more of an edge? What's kind of the read on the linebacker situation?
Well, I think, sorry, I was looking something up here. So I think you've got Bynes there, which is super nice to have. It'd be nice if somebody would beat Bynes to that job. It's a good question about Harrison. He was taking some outside linebacker snaps, in practice last year. To start the OTAs, he was with the middle linebackers. So it's unclear to me what that plan is right now. I'm guessing the next time Harbaugh's up to podium, somebody will ask it. Would they had bigger questions to ask than that today? But I am curious to see what they see as his role going forward. But to me, it would be nice if Harrison became that guy. That's what you drafted him for. Bynes is an awesome pickup, but he's not getting any younger, and you want a long-term solution. So, and then you also have all these undrafted rookies in there. And that is where Ravens have had success in the past, especially on defense, bringing in undrafted rookies there. So I'd like to see the competition there. So you have Bynes there, but I'd like to see Harrison or an undrafted guy beat him to it. But whoever it is, I think that they could be coming off the field quite a bit, as we talked about the safeties versatility before.
Right.
What are your thoughts, Cole?
No, I think that makes sense. And I mean, it's a huge year for that entire 2020 draft class because it's going to hinge on, I can see a ton of those guys working out and being hits. I can see a ton of those guys taking step backs and being busts. And I mean, Harrison's part of that picture. I think ideally by year 3, you were probably hoping by going linebacker in round 1 and round 3, there's your starting duo. And you kind of got a Mike and a Will body type. And I think people kind of stress a little bit over the Mike and Will label. I think Patrick Queen was probably a Will beside Harrison as the Mike, but would probably have stayed on the field at sub packages to become the Mike. But regardless, it's kind of semantics at that point. But I think ideally Malik Harrison is taking that big step. And I mean, we've seen him play good football. He was a huge reason for stunting Derrick Henry in that playoff game in 2020. Like, he played absolutely phenomenal as a run stopper, fullbacks the defense. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I think Josh Bynes is there to be that veteran insulator that the Ravens love to do with a young player. Like, they want to bring in a guy that if it doesn't go right, okay, we got a guy that's been around the block. Josh Bynes has done that. We can fall back on him. It kind of reminds me of, was it 2020 where they had to go out and get Fort and Bynes like back to back to kind of insulate the linebackers, right? So they kind of had a tendency to do that, and I think it makes sense. So I think it's probably Bynes to start. I think they're hoping Harrison is the guy that kind of grabs that, and then they're going to keep a UDFA linebacker. It's going to be Josh Ross. Like, I'll put my money on it.
You already got it.
The Mike McDonald connection is too strong. He just screams, "Oh my God, look at this next, stud special teamer." So we'll see how it plays out, but that's kind of how I see it going. And let's transition to the offense. And obviously, so we got 2 questions on this. I'll merge both together. So at Jordan V. Hess asked, who will emerge as a wide receiver 2? Is it Devin Duvernay? And then at Thurman PB asked, with the help of T. Martin and Kevin Williams, who will be the first under the radar receiver to step up? I think that's kind of the wide receiver 2 question. Basically, who do you see as the guy, and are they on the roster that kind of steps up beside Rashad Bateman?
Yeah, I was going to say wide receiver 2 to me isn't on the roster yet. I still believe that Eric will sign a veteran. And I don't think that veteran will affect Bateman at all. Bateman has all the traits. He's got all the traits of a wide receiver one. It's just a matter of putting that on the field, which I think he will do this year. So I know that sounds like a cop out, but I do think it's the person not on the roster right now. That being said, I'm having a hard time picking any of them. Again, this is what this offseason is for. This is what OTAs are for. This is what training camp is for. If you're going off of traits, which is all we can do right now without seeing these guys, this is what this whole offseason's for. It's to give them the opportunity and then see who comes out. So I'm excited to see it just as much as anybody else. When you talk about traits, to me, Devin Duvernay can be that speed guy that can try to take the top off of a defense. I think he has the speed. I'm not sure he has the ball tracking skills that Hollywood Brown had. But I suppose it takes a defender, at least out of there, So, but maybe he can become that guy. I don't know. I'm not saying he can't. Again, that's what this offseason's for. But so he can be that speed guy. He obviously is a Pro Bowl returner. He's got all those skills. So he's the guy you look at. Traits. Well, I see Prochet as a possession guy, a reliable guy. Again, I don't know that he's wide receiver 2 though. And then Tylan Wallace, to me, he's got some traits. Yep. To me, he's a dog, right?
He's exciting.
He's exciting. So I kind of want to see, because I don't feel like Wallace has had the opportunity that Duvernay and Prochet have had, and he's got traits that I like. So I'd be interested to see what he can do. I hope he gets a lot of opportunities out there. The undrafted rookies, I really can't speak to many of them. I don't know that any of them is going to be on the team. Like if it's Ross that's going to be the undrafted rookie, are they going to keep 2? That's a lot. I don't know.
They have technically, given their propensity to carry 6 wide receivers, they kind of have 2 spots open. So, I mean, I do think one's filled by a vet. I think you're bang on. And I think it's going to be, and just to go into the question, I don't want, and again, Devin Duvernay did show, I think, progression from year 1 to year 2 last year. So that's as a receiver. I think he was a lot more fluid. So credit to him. He can continue to get better. That's what development's for. I just don't see an overly sudden athlete. He's very stiff. And that sounds ironic because he moves so well in the open field, but as a route runner, he gets very stiff and he lacks the suddenness to kind of become an outside route runner. Looks like a slot guy to me. I kind of see it as Duvernay and Prochet give you 2 different flavors of a slot receiver, and it's more who can we get outside to complement Bateman when they're in 3 wide receiver packages. I think Tylan could be that guy. He was that guy at Oklahoma State. He could do some deep work. I'm not going to compare him to Steve Smith because Steve Smith is Steve Smith. Right. But he plays like Steve Smith. He's a dog. But I think they're going to want to do kind of what we were talking about on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to want to get a veteran in there to insulate him. Ironically, the type of skill set as a flanker that I think they could use is a Sammy Watkins. And I know he's not coming back. He's in Green Bay. But I actually would have welcomed that return. I know everyone wouldn't have been happy about it, but you're basically throwing darts at an injury board right now with a Will Fuller, maybe a Julio. I'll be shocked if it's Julio, but that's kind of just how I see it. So I really could see Will Fuller being that guy that comes in and is sort of a veteran insulator that pushes Tylan Wallace for reps. That's kind of how I see it.
You're going to mess me up with Kyle and Will Fuller. It's just
too many Fullers.
Too many Fullers.
Making the roster Fuller. I can already see the headline.
There we
go. And then let's get into, I'll call it the most important position on the football field. And we all know where I'm going with that. That's our offensive line. You know how I get down. So let's look at, we got 2 fun competitions this training camp. And I love it. There's going to be so much to watch in the preseason games with fun rotations that are going into the 4th quarter where we get to see this, guys. So at Simply AS10, go check them out on YouTube. One of the best highlight YouTubes out there.
Dude, can I interrupt for a second? I don't know why I just discovered him. But I just started. So I don't know if he's watching, but at Simply AS10, bro, I just started following you. love your edits. It's amazing. It's amazing. So good. Great talent. I wish him the best.
I would love to know how to do that. I'm just like, I got grays in my
Right?
beard. Once you get grays in your beard, you can't do any sort of video editing. That's what I'm doing.
You've been graduated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once the second kid comes, it all goes out the window for tech skills. So he wanted to know, who do you see winning the left guard competition, which I think is, I will throw Ben Powers in there out of respect, but I think it's a battle between Big Country Ben Cleveland and Tyree Phillips.
So quick to Powers. I think it would be, as long as there's no injuries, I could see him. Why am I forgetting his name? Who did we trade last year in the middle of
Ben
camp? Bredesen. Yeah. But I think he could get more. He could get more than Bredesen. He has more starting experience and more tape. So I think he could garner more. And then also, you didn't have McCary in there, which I get, but let's not forget that he was just paid.
Yep.
And Harbaugh did say initially, he kind of backed off a little bit, but initially was like, McCary could, in that draft press conference, and he could have been excited. He definitely named Linderbaum the starting center. And then he said, but let's not rule out McCary as a starter. So I don't like to overlook Harbaugh's love for McCary. Now, he obviously could be a super sub, which I'd be fine with that also, but I'm not quite ready to rule him out yet. That being said, I agree with you. The favorites are Cleveland and Phillips. I fell in love with Cleveland. Phillip, well, they both have had injuries since they've been here, but I would like to see Cleveland win that job. I'd like to see it happen. Again, we're premature in it. That's what this offseason is for. But I mean, they're both big dudes. Do we have, I guess I didn't write it down. I was surprised. I thought Phillips was going to be way bigger than Cleveland, and he's not, right? Isn't Cleveland bigger?
Cleveland's 6'6", 354, and I believe Phillips is 6'5", 330, if I have that right. Cleveland's bigger. Cleveland's
bigger, which I guess because I thought Phillips would sometimes play tackle, I guess just in my mind, that made him seem bigger to me.
Right.
But
6'5",
yeah,
330 for Tyree Phillips.
There we go.
That's listed. So
yeah. So I'd like to see Cleveland win that job.
I think that's fair. I mean, both third-round picks and back-to-back drafts, I think you're hoping one of them just, I think, seizes the opportunity. And they've had Tyree Phillips is doing something in practice to make this coaching staff love him. He's been a week one starter back-to-back years, including as a rookie, which is rare under John Harbaugh too. And I mean, he beat out DJ Fluker, who they brought in as kind of one of those veteran insulators. And Phillips did enough.
Although we know how Fluker went, so we could see that easily going down.
Yeah.
Fluker did not end up too well here.
But it was, I guess when they signed him, I was like, well, there's your starter at right guard. It was right guard that year. That was before they got Kevin Zeitler. But, you know, I tend to notice that. It's like, why does the coaching staff love Phillips? My hope is it's Ben Cleveland because they spent draft capital on him. They drafted him over Quinn Miners, which killed me, hurt my heart very much. I fell in love with the belly picture, I'll admit it. And so I mean, it's also, you know, you got him for longer, cheaper years. So I think that's important too. I think hopefully something lights a fire under Ben Cleveland. He comes into camp and wants to move bodies this year. I think that's kind of the missing piece, that kind of, I'll say, killer mentality. He's got everything to be a bulldozer. He just needs the want to. What I think gives Ben Cleveland a leg up is in the context of building a pass protecting O-line. Cleveland has already shown, as which he did as a rookie last year, that he can be an NFL caliber pass protector. Where he needs to kind of come along a little bit more is in his run blocking. So I think that
which is just a little important in this offense, just a little bit.
But he's got everything to do it. I seriously think like just someone needs to go in the huddle and just talk crap about squirrels or something. It'll get them going before he snaps. That would be my strategy. That'd be my coaching approach to kind of light a fire. And then we have, and so here's my theory on Patrick McCary, which people probably don't see coming because I'm a Morgan Moses fan. So let's transition to who we see winning the right tackle competition.
Okay.
I do not rule out Patrick McCary. And so people are going to get all up in arms, talk about his arm length, whatever. he showed his ability to do it, and he did it at an exceptionally high level. We're talking top half of the league of starting right tackles in 2021 when he was healthy. I just don't think, given the contract situation of Morgan Moses vis-a-vis contract situation of Patrick McCary, that you have to start Morgan Moses, because that same argument would be made about McCary. So I think they needed a veteran, durable, key point durable with their offensive tackle situation that could be, and I think people forget, Morgan Moses did not start week 1 for the New York Jets last year. He went into week 1 because Becton got hurt mid-game. They slid George Fant to left tackle, inserted Moses at right tackle. So, and they gave him it was a 1-year deal, but they gave him decent money to come in and play. And I think people saw him as the starter, and he played commendable starting caliber football at the offensive tackle spot. I think the Ravens over-investing at offensive tackle makes perfect sense given their situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just don't think it's Morgan Moses' job stamped, wrap it up. You still got Jawan James out there. Who the heck knows what's going on there? Again, what you're making a resounding theme that I think is important. This offseason is all about these competitions and guys getting healthy and proving it. So I think McCary is sneakily in that right tackle conversation.
Yeah, I think it would be silly not to put him in there. It's just crazy that this is why I love McCary. We were all like, after Bradley Bozeman wasn't re-signed, it's like, well, McCary's the center. Then he's gone. And then basically John Harbaugh names him the starter for the left guard. And yet it's also not crazy to be like, oh, he could be the starter for right tackle. Like, who is? That's why I'm just like, I don't know. He got paid. I feel like he's going to start somewhere.
He could start at left tackle if Stanley doesn't get back. It's not that's crazy to me.
Also true. He would be a candidate. That is also true. Okay, so hold on a second. So you got McCary in there. Obviously, you have Moses in there. You're not talking about Falele. Where you at? Where you at? Because
it's crazy. Like, there's so many options, and this is great. It's exactly what the Ravens needed to do this offseason, and I'm happy that they did it. I am a Falele truther. I do think, and we'll see again, we need to kind of see. I'm watching videos of people releasing from camp, and all I'm seeing is him. I saw 3 of them, of 3 different reps of him doing vertical sets, and that's where he needs to, get to it. So it's going to be, I could see a situation. I don't know if I could see a bit of an Orlando Brown situation where maybe you see the James Hurst start the first couple of weeks, get to the bye week. It's not crazy to me that Falele takes it over for the rest of the way. That's exactly what happened with Orlando Brown Jr.
Right. Well, and that's my thing is it's like, and that's also a scenario from the Ravens perspective that you'd most want to have happen. Because if you're rookie, you have 4 years on that rookie contract. And if your rookie can get in there midseason to become a starter, then you're set again. And this time, he's never played left tackle, Cole. So I don't think we'll be getting any tweets saying, I'm a left tackle. So
that tweet still haunts me to this day.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'm just like, did you have a father who wanted you to play left tackle? What is going on here? Let's get this out in the draft interviews, the combine interviews. So that's why listen, that's more of a hope. I have no idea. It's a hope that Falele could get there, but it would be awesome if Falele could beat out Morgan Moses. And if he's better than Moses, would you take McCary or Falele? If you know that Falele is better than Moses.
But what about Jawan James? You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing. I was slightly surprised that he wasn't there this week. Because to me,
but my question was he there yesterday? Because a couple of people that were listed in the tweet today from the open media session, like Morgan Moses was listed, but there's a picture of him there on Tuesday. So I don't know.
Yeah, Morgan Moses was definitely there Tuesday. I definitely saw that.
I wondered that. And I wasn't. I mean, the problem is our media representatives weren't there on Tuesday to know.
Right, they can't be.
Who was there? Yeah. We're working off the photos from the team. But when I saw Jawan James' name, I was shocked because he was at practice, super involved all last season, knowing he probably wasn't going to play.
Right.
I'm not saying that he was there. I just wondered if maybe that was part of it. But
Right.
that was one of those things where, like, man, you're fighting for your, this sounds a little dramatic, but you are kind of fighting for your NFL future because you've been out of the game for 2 years, basically. I don't think
Right.
that's melodramatic to say
No, I agree.
so I would have expected him to be there. I think it's a good point.
Well, and the only other thing that maybe, although you hope this is not the case, is most of the guys that were absent from the field were the injury guys, and they could have just been inside.
That's what I was
Okay.
wondering.
Well, so he could have been there, but inside. But holy cow, he's been rehabbing for a long time. So if he's still inside, that's also not the best sign.
Yeah.
So to me, though, I agree with you 100%. I don't think it's melodramatic. I do think this offseason is huge for him because to me, I consider, well, we'll see. It all depends on Stanley. But if Stanley's healthy, Juwan James is a bubble guy. And so the Ravens have never actually seen him out there. And they want to get to know what he can do after these injuries. So, man, here's what I love about it, Cole. We're talking about so many different combinations and misses and matches. I could not ask for more, and I don't think Lamar Jackson could ask for more than what from the offensive line than what Eric DeCosta has done this season. Now, wide receiver is a different conversation, but if it's true that Lamar Jackson came to them and they said, "What's your priority?" and he said offensive line, I just don't think Eric DeCosta could have done more between the draft, free agency, the signings, who he let go, who he brought in. Like, there's so many different combinations that Lamar should be so much safer than he was last year. And that might even be the case if Stanley isn't good to go, but hopefully he's good to go.
This is purely my speculation, but the fact that they didn't bring in a true left tackle with that, we'll say the cap allocation of Morgan Moses, because there were guys out there that had more experience playing left tackle than Morgan Moses did. I thought the fact that they didn't sign one of those guys, and I'm thinking like Cornelius Lucas, that was like a true swing. He ended up re-upping with the Commanders. But the fact that they didn't bring one in, I don't want to, and I mean, he went into a press conference and said, "Listen, guys, I misjudged it. That's my bad. I won't let it happen again." So to kind of, I'll say he doubled down a bit on Stanley's health. And now I do think McCary could do it. I've said that from the get-go. People disagree with me. That's fine. He'll just prove you wrong again. I also think Morgan Moses is a sneaky option to do that left tackle spot. He did it for 2 games
done it
in
before.
2020. I think like he's not your prototypical left tackle. I'm not sure with the way the Ravens offense is, do you need the prototypical left tackle? You prefer it. Can he do enough in pass protection? I think he could be serviceable. I think he could be better than Alejandro Villanueva, which was the goal this offseason to improve.
So much better. I hope the goal was much higher than that standard, but go on.
And so I saw him double downing on Ronnie Stanley's health there. It seems crazy. He vowed not to make that mistake again, but that really seemed like a double down to me.
Well, perhaps. At the same time, he also had seen Juwan James in the building for a year, so who knows if that was part of the plan.
True.
But you are right. Morgan Moses has done it, but has little experience. Falele has no experience. But you basically have Juwan James and McCary as the two backups. So I guess I agree with you, but it depends on Juwan James and what he was seeing from him.
And I think Juwan James, he was always a better pass protector than a run blocker at right tackle in his previous stints, but he also played in high volume passing offenses. So, I mean, it's going to be different in Baltimore. We know that at the end of the day, your offensive tackles need to be able to pass pro. That's just football. But Juwan James's strength was pass protection. So in terms of him moving to left tackle, you might get into struggles with him moving his footwork and all the stuff we saw last year. But I don't think it's crazy that he could compete if he's healthy. And I mean, that's kind of but I guess what I feel good about with the tackle situation is we're going through it and we're throwing names out there because we're even forgetting about guys. But that just
Right.
speaks to how many options they've stacked in terms of
Right.
guys that could get out there. And I think it's just one of those situations where you're not going to have to move Tyree Phillips out there. We know they didn't rely on that as an option. And so I feel good about getting guys in here, veterans who have played the game for a longer period of time, that they can, get out there and they'll figure it out. That's kind of how I saw it.
Yep, I agree.
And so I know you have something at 8:30. And so for all of you listening, there's going to be a really fun Twitter space going on. It's hosted, I think, by Miss Gina. She Talks Football. It's with Sarah and it's with Quadri Ismail. Go check that out at 8:30 Eastern time. So we'll ask Sarah one more question and then we'll get you out of here because you're stacking Ravens content tonight, which is awesome. And so I just want to look at this one's from @bmore_sports8, my guy Brian. So this won't be answered at OTAs. We have a fun group of tight ends now. We're up to 4 guys plus Ricard, who counts as a fullback. How do you kind of see the usage playing out? And I'll add in a wrinkle of my question because I have a thought on this that I'll give you after. But do you see an odd man out in that tight end group that might be kind of the inactive every game day?
Yeah. Okay. Well, to start with the snaps. Snaps are hard. I thought it was going to be targets, but
we can do targets. Let's do targets.
Well, that's okay because I picked up snaps too. I just think it tells you a little bit less. But so a lot of people have been talking about going back to like a 2019 mold, at least in terms of tight ends, right? So I went back to 2019 to look at snaps, and let me see if I got the right one here. No, this was this year. Okay. So Mark Andrews back in 2019, and he's going to blow this away, had 450 snaps or 457 snaps, and so did Hayden Hurst. They both had identical snaps. Mark Andrews had way more targets that year than Hayden Hurst did, but they had equal snaps. And then Nick Boyle, close to doubling, both of them had 769 snaps.
Crazy.
That's crazy. So listen, Mark Andrews last year had 936 snaps. So he like doubled what he did that 2019 year. And I don't think they're taking him off the field, much more than that. So he's already getting all those snaps. I do think you're going to see, as he's healthy, Nick Boyle this year, because he was injured, had 95, but that just pushed Patrick Ricard's snaps way up.
Exactly. I don't think people get that. Even 2020 snaps, like his snaps have gone up every year. But what happened in 2020 and 2021 was Nick Boyle coming out of the equation. And no disrespect to Eric Tomlinson. Eric Tomlinson is not Nick Boyle. They basically needed Ricard and Tomlinson to replace what Nick Boyle did. That's how good Nick Boyle is.
Right.
So
exactly.
I just think that's one of the missing pieces when people were talking about re-signing Ricard. If everyone's healthy, Nick Boyle's healthy, Ricard's snaps are going to go back to
way down
levels.
Right.
I think so too.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I think if Nick Boyle's healthy, and Mark Andrews is Mark Andrews, those two are going to dominate. They're going to be out there a lot. Okay. And then so from there, when you have heavier packages, you'll bring in Patrick Ricard, right? So then he'll be out there with Nick Boyle, and good luck. That's what we're going to get our running game going back, right? You bring back our running backs, and then you got Nick Boyle and Patrick Ricard out there blocking. Good luck opposing defenses, especially ones that are built against the passing team, So there's that. But then when you're looking for more passing situations, I still think Nick Boyle can be out there because he can be a good receiver. I could see, obviously, 3 tight end sets, maybe some 4 tight end sets. You know what I mean? And so if that's the case, you still got Mark and Nick, and then maybe you bring in these 2 rookies. But if everybody's active, as you say. So, but I see these rookies kind of being slowly brought in. I think that they are going to be experimenting quite a bit, especially with Likely. Harbaugh, even that first draft night, was like, oh yeah, we don't even know where he fits in yet. We see him as a playmaker. And so I think they're going to try to have some fun with him and see what he can do. But he'll still be mostly a tight end, and all the tight ends get some wide receiver snaps here and there. But I see Mark Andrews and Nick Boyle dominating with sprinkling in these rookies here and there, getting their feet wet. Maybe both of them can try a Hayden Hurst role. Okay, whoever. Remember, every time the Ravens, like when they drafted, was it Pitta and Dixon that were together?
Yep.
Yeah. Pitta just came up and Dixon never really caught on fire. So we'll see. We don't know what these guys can do yet. It was Dixon who was supposed to be better, but it was Pitta who kind of stole the show. And then obviously the same thing with Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst. You know what I mean?
Someone came in with Nick Boyle too, and I can't remember who it was in that 2015 draft. There were 2 tight ends that year.
Oh, it was the redhead, right?
Max Williams, which is almost the exact same situation.
Yeah, same situation. So I don't know who it's going to be with. They're both 4th rounders. Who knows between Kohler and Likely? But that's why I don't know who to pick the odd man out. I mean, it would be hard to keep all of them active unless you're just like don't have wide receivers active. Which if both tight ends are showing you something, why not? These Ravens, what's the cliche with the Ravens? When everybody else zigs, they zag, or vice versa. So who knows? But I think that when you talk about the wide receivers, you got to have the tight ends in there because that could all affect each other. But that's how I see it. Mark Andrews and Nick Boyle will dominate, and let's see what these rookies can do.
Absolutely. And I think like one of the things that I think we focus too much on is how can they use Isaiah Likely? Because people see him as a wide receiver. I mean, fair enough, but I think you have to look at Mark Andrews played, last year, 488 snaps in the slot, 141 wide. You can go back and look at Hayden Hurst, who in 2019 played 160 slots in the slot and 62 wide. So, the Ravens using tight ends in wide receiver alignments is not a foreign concept to them.
Right.
It's kind of one of those weird things where I think people have been like, oh my God, like Greg Roman doesn't know how to use players. Greg Roman knows how to use tight ends. Like this is proven over multiple years. There's plenty of
multiple
examples.
Teams. Yep.
If you have concerns with Greg Roman's wide receiver usage, I hear you. I'm not going to argue with you. But when tight end usage, there's a proven track record. So I wouldn't stress too much. I see Charlie Kolar as the odd man out, even though he was the higher drafted guy. And I say that because he just looks like a Y/slot like Mark Andrews, but he's never going to replace Mark Andrews on the field if Andrews is healthy.
Right.
But I see Likely as playing that H-back role where he's going to do a little bit of move tight end stuff, basically what Hayden Hurst did. He can play in the slot. He can play out wide. So I see Likely, even though he was a later draft pick, actually getting on the field quicker than Charlie Kolar. I think Charlie Kolar was brought in to be like and I think they meant this with Josh Oliver too, because if you go back to Josh Oliver's slot snaps, he played in the slot and out wide as well. I think they're like, if Mark Andrews gets hurt, what the heck's our plan? And they want a true wide, which is why they got Charlie Kolar. So
that was my same thought. And maybe that's why I should have thought he was, but I still give room for whoever jumps out more between Likely and Kolar.
And that's the thing. Kolar could seize that role, and he could be, he'll be like, I can be a move tight end too. I can do this. I can do that. I can play in the slot. So we won't keep you any longer, Sarah, because I know you got something else. Like I said, everyone go check out Twitter Spaces. You can go to Sarah's profile at SG Ellison. I know you're all following her already. So go check that out. It'll be a fun space. Miss Gina's awesome. Obviously, Quadri and Sarah's awesome too. So Sarah, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for coming on.
Cole, this was a blast. You are fun to talk with, man. I wish so much success to you. I love your stream. You were great. This was a blast for me. Thanks for having me on.
So that means you'll come back, right? I got a commitment?
Sure thing. Of course, man. You got me.
I love it. Thank you so much, Sarah. Everyone out there, be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Peace out, everyone.